biggest.
We're gonna talk about
fan.
that later, but
He's a fanatical Nickelback
He was actually
guy.
playing it out there, so now it makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, is he actually
All right.
a Nickelback fan?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
We've seen him live.
Wow.
what's wrong with that?
What about that? We'll get to that.
He's genuine.
Can we talk about that?
Genuine as a
Because
guy.
All right,
absolutely.
are
We certainly
going
can.
live.
Talk
We're
about it
to
all
go
the
into
time.
Intro.
Yeah.
All right, everyone.
Don't forget to turn your mic on.
Mine's on.
Should be on. On?
Now, no more fucking around. It's Wild Style Radio. Wild Style Radio.
Stand up and shout!
What's up? It's Friday night, and this is the Stand Up and Shout Rock Show. We're coming to you live from Salisbury Center Studios in Manassas, Virginia.
Fueled by Monster Energy.
Fueled by Monster Energy.
Yes, sir. So, this is the first Friday night that we have done a Friday night metal night, you and I, for 2025.
For 2025, yep.
First of the year. Sure. And we're with Primus.
Woo!
I know, one of the bands of a Friday night metal night. So we're you know.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
And so we talked to you, Mike. By the way, there's two mics, so I'm gonna get in this confused back and forth throughout this whole conversation. But we talked to you before you came in the studio before, so if people are watching this and seeing this and you're like, I've seen this already.
Yeah.
You haven't seen this conversation already. So yes, but we have other folk from Primus, not Primus, but Primus, that are here with us. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
So I'm the other Mike.
Other Mike.
You can call me Loomer. There's too many mics. So I usually go by Loomer, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm Scott, and I just make weird noises. That's really all I'm here for.
I guess you should specify I'm the drummer.
I was gonna say, and I was gonna guess when you said weird noises that you are the guitarist. Then
Correct.
Yes,
Correct.
yeah, you're just right, yeah, doing what Primus does with, I don't know, lead guitars, any guitars through the whole catalog.
I don't even know what to call what he does.
It's cool, whatever it is. So
Yeah.
Special.
Yeah,
that's a good word.
Special.
That's a good word.
Sounded good. Sound check was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
So looking forward to
I
it.
missed sound check.
You did miss sound
I
check.
was late.
You're,
sounds good.
You're generally late.
It sounds good in that room. It sounded pretty solid. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear what it sounds like when we get recordings of it and just what it sounds like on stage. So.
Sure. I mean, it was an old movie theater, right? So you
Right.
got the movie theater acoustics kind of built in, ready to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So Mike and Scott, other Mike and Scott, Loomer and Scott. All right, there we go. So how did you guys get into this? We talked to this Mike, bass Mike, about his move into Primus and being in a tribute act for Primus. We don't typically see that, so I'm thrilled about it. I'm a huge Primus fan, so I'm excited to see this. Will be my first Primus tribute. So how did you guys get here?
Happy to set the bar real low for you. Have you known him longer or have I known him longer?
I think I've known him longer.
Yeah, probably. So Mikey and I go back 22 years-ish when his old band and my old band used to play shows together before Scott was in that old band. And through the years, we met up again through various other bands because we've both been in many since then. And with the various bands we were playing in, he was like, hey, what do you guys think about doing a Primus tribute? I've always wanted to do it. Like, all right, why not?
Cool.
And I did tell you last time he had started down that path with another bass player, and I got
That's true, too.
very jealous. Right? I can't. Something I've wanted to do since high school, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go jam with this guy." I was like, "No, the hell you are. No, we're not gonna do that." So he came back, and he was like, "That wasn't good." I was like, "All right, we're gonna do this for real then." So I think he and I started talking about it, and then he was just a natural. I was just like, there's no one else we can
I
get.
mean, I've been
other
listening to them for
Yeah,
forever.
Sure.
So I was like, I've never actually sat down and tried to figure out a guitar part for a Primus song ever because they're just so bizarre. So I'm just like, why would I even bother? Like once they hit me up and they were like, hey, we wanted to do a Primus tribute band. I was like, all right, I guess I'm gonna try and figure this wacky stuff out.
So are there songs that you like playing, which to me is a loaded question, versus if you're a fan, songs you like listening to. There might be two different things, right?
Absolutely.
So you're right. So like,
Absolutely.
yeah. So are there any that stand out? We'll go with playing. That
I'll go first. The funny one, we're actually doing it tonight for the first time. So it's the title track off of Pork Soda. Pork Soda. The song is just a giant mess, right?
It's the
When
dumbest
you
song
listen
ever.
to it, it's 2 minutes. There's no keys. There's no nothing. There's no vocal. The vocals are just rambling nonsense. But playing it, we actually started working on it last week, and it's just a blast. Like, cause it's all you're sitting there kind of giggling mid-song because I'm making all this noise with the upright bass. He's literally just making wah noises, and he's just trying to figure out where the one is and keep it together. And I mean, it sounds cool to play it live, and I don't think it's a song that they do very often. But yeah, that one I would say, as far as listening to versus playing, that's definitely on the tops right now.
Okay.
So, at least for me.
yeah.
Probably the one that I hate the most.
Yeah.
Well, so music fans, lifelong, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
And you get to the point where you could probably hear a song for the first time, even if it's a weird drum beat, and you'll probably be able to feel where the one is. Like, this sounds like something I've heard before, derivative or not, whatever.
Right.
But you can sort of tell. And I've been listening to this damn song for 30 years, right? Because we all came upon Primus when we were in high school or middle school. You know? So it's been with us a long time, and the entire time prior to last week, I had the actual count inverted and trying to undo 30 years of listening to a song this way.
Sure.
It's like, no, it's actually back. And man, I fought it. Like, they were like, you're playing that wrong. I'm like, no, this is totally how. And I was absolutely wrong. And it's so if you watch us play that tonight, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm
You're
going to
gonna
be
see him
counting. I'm going to be counting out
Hell yeah.
loud like a complete amateur. I
You
don't
gonna go
care.
as far as a metronome? You're gonna like.
I can't really do that with this band. There's so many weird feel and tempo changes
Sure.
that, like, I mean, we'd have to there's not only, so when you do that sort of thing live, because I play in a lot of other bands and I do play to a click, so that's not a problem.
Right.
But when you do it with the material where it changes so
Sure,
much,
sure.
you have to tempo map stuff out. You don't have the freedom to really go where you want unless you have someone who's like an Ableton wizard that's able to, like, no, we're going to do that section over again. Like, the crowd's really feeling it. We're going to do a double chorus here where you normally don't, right?
Right.
Everything else is essentially pre-programmed.
Right.
With this,
No,
all bets are off,
and
man.
we-
You gotta pay attention and listen.
And we
It's old
jam
school.
on certain parts. Like, he
Yeah.
does a drum jam at the beginning of Lacquerhead, and that's not on the record. So it's basically whenever he's ready and done doodling around on his toms. and
Some of the
just
ends
on
of the
his
songs,
yeah,
like,
the
that we'll be
ends,
feeling it. It's like, no, keep going. Do another four or whatever.
DMV, we kind of mess with the ending. I think Nut Butter we're doing tonight for the first time, which is the first track off of Punch Bowl, and we're gonna cut that one up a little bit because the song is 7 minutes and there's a lot of filler stuff in there. The ending is 2 minutes of nonsense, and we're just gonna shave that down. So it would be really hard to do that with a click. I mean, it would be maybe cool. I mean, but I think it'd be probably too far gone to try that.
Sure.
I mean, they never did.
Oh,
so.
they don't at all. No.
We're just trying to be accurate to the
Yeah,
source.
right. So,
Now, Scotty, are you on that wave with Pork Soda? Are you on the Pork Soda? Like, seems like that is the.
I mean, we had a blast. I mean, the first time we played it was
Last Sunday,
5
yeah.
days ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's not much
Days
to
of
it, but
Five.
it's just, it's a funny song to play.
Sure.
Like, it's
They also love seeing me be emphatically wrong.
well, that's
that's always a plus too,
that whole
right?
thing was hilarious.
Look how confident he is.
No, dude, you're backwards again.
Yeah, we can do music nerd stuff all day. Like, we were working at the end of Groundhog Day, and he and I are feeling it, and we keep ending together, and he's off, and he's like, no, there's something. We're like, no, you're adding a beat, and he's like, no, I'm not. And we're like, okay, it's okay. So
I definitely was.
we keep going, and finally at the end of practice, he's like, oh, that's what we're supposed to be doing. I was like, I just didn't have the heart to tell you earlier. You figured it out. We're good. So
Sounds like someone we know that is insistent on.
Yeah.
I'm not proud to be emphatically wrong. It just happens.
Exactly.
I mean, to be fair, Primus was actually cutting a beat out.
They were.
We just didn't realize they were.
Well, it's like the old Metallica. Like, you listen to some of their songs and like Battery or Blackened, and they're like kick snare, but then sometimes it's snare kick, and it's
Right.
like, were they doing this on purpose, or did Lars just fall behind and they thought it sounded really cool and they just
Right.
let it roll? Like, So
Right.
that's like one of their signature things, is that flipping where the hand and the feet go.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's
More the latter.
It's
Yeah.
right.
Do either of you guys play drums?
No. No.
something that when you've been doing it as long as I have, you'll hear certain recordings, and with Primus, granted, I've never been in the room with them to ask,
Right.
and I don't even know if they would remember if I did, but it sure sounds like on a lot of their songs, Les, like all three of them, they're recording live, and Les just decides to go to a chorus, and Lair is like, okay, whatever, because he just happens to roll with everything, and everything he plays fits perfectly with what they do. But it sounds like Tim didn't know he was going there. Like they did not plan it out. They were just jamming, and Tim's still playing the last beat. He's like, oh, okay, and he just quickly shifts over, multiple times, multiple songs.
There's some of that for sure. You sit down and you're like, this is all. Did they really calculate all this, or no? They did not. This
Seems
just,
a lot of freeform going on.
Right. Well, I mean, again,
way too honest about it too. Because they put it out. It's in Pork Soda. It's in Punch Bowl. It's in Seas of Cheese, and you hear it. And it's like, what? Did he know they were going to go there?
Yeah.
Or?
like why notice?
All you have to do is see any live Primus,
Right.
and they are 100% a jam band.
Yes. Yeah.
They really are.
Right.
And like I'm pretty sure they just roll tape on those albums and just see what happens.
Yep.
It's
Yeah. Did you guys catch him at the Anthem last year? Downtown?
No.
No,
Well,
YouTube.
We've seen some of the videos. And
I was there.
That show, I don't know about that
was
one.
great.
It was good.
It was great. I loved it.
There's
Yeah.
one we were actually looking at it on one of the songs, and we were trying to learn some stuff from it. And I was like, I don't know if this is the one they want on the internet. But
Oh, really?
It was
yeah,
bad.
It was rough. It was
I
rough.
think a lot of their stuff is really awesome in the room,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't really translate to
Well, that's when you're bringing up the jam band feel. That definitely that was there at that show.
Oh, yeah.
There were songs that extended well beyond
Right.
what that recorded time was.
And it seems like they do that on certain songs versus others. Some of them they'll just play the
Right.
song and that's that. But there's certain ones where they will really veer off and just deviate and do kind of. So we try to. Like we'll open our show, they're all huge Rush guys, right? Huge Rush fans, and when we were putting this together, I was like, they've, even on Frizzle Fry, they'll start some tracks off with Rush parts, and they'll do it live, and we were like, we're all such Metallica dorks, like we should put some Metallica songs in the middle of these or some other metal band. So you'll hear us tonight when we open up the show. We do not start with Primus. It starts with another group.
Awesome.
So,
That is awesome.
And
That's excellent.
we were just working out another one during sound check, and probably next show we'll probably weave our way with that one. So it's always fun to see how many of these we can mash up. So,
All right. Yeah.
because
Yeah,
we're
sure.
all big metal guys. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so are we.
Right.
Yep,
Right?
absolutely.
good company. Good company.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually looking it up because Geddy Lee does a show on bass players.
Okay.
It's on Paramount Plus. Have you guys seen it?
No,
I've seen ads
That-
for it.
Bass players are human too.
Yeah, bass players are human too. Couldn't remember the name of it,
Yeah.
but he did. So he's done one with Robert Trujillo.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm blanking on her name, but was the bass player in Hole.
For Hole, yes, I know exactly
But-
what she looks like. I can't remember her name
Yeah, I
either.
can't remember.
But also
Yeah.
did it with Les Claypool, and
Sure.
that was the best one.
Yeah,
course.
But very cool. So
And they're both. I'm pretty sure they're both huge fans of each other.
They-
I mean,
absolutely.
Les is a huge Geddy fanboy. I mean, he's admitted that. But I know that we talked last time about this. I know they've toured together, and
Yes.
I mean, for
Yeah.
bass players, that's like the mecca of just watching two bass player frontmen. And look, the bands are obviously they're very similar, right? The drummers are very similar. They both have that kind of big thunderous style, but at the same time, there's a lot of intricate, little weird, odd time kind of stuff going on.
Sure.
And then the guitar playing is it's a lot of counterpoint, like weirdo kind of.
Yeah.
You don't really notice what it is until you hear it with the whole mix, but when you pull it out by itself, you're like, I can't believe he's just doing that.
Well, trios, right? Like
Right.
you got to fill up the
Right.
space. 'Cause
Right.
Yeah.
There's only three of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, what songs do you like listening to then? Like to flip it. Like, if you do you even listen to Primus now?
Oh, yeah.
Because are you so embedded in it in terms of playing it that it
Yeah,
doesn't feel
sometimes-
relaxing or whatever, recreational to do that?
Probably not as much anymore, but yeah. Honestly,
I get
there's certain albums that like I was a huge fan of the first three when growing up,
Yep,
and
sure.
I had the fourth one, but Punch Bowl was always good. But I don't know if I was just too young to get it, or I just didn't connect with me as much. But when we started doing this, I really went back and started listening to it, and it's really good. And I just had never given it the needed playtime that I should have.
Which Sure. one?
Punch Bowl, with Beaver and
Right.
Bailey and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, that one probably. And
That's their most commercially successful album, right?
That one or
what notice-
Pork Soda.
Pork
Yeah.
Soda.
Yeah. Which is insane when you think about how that album sold over 1 million copies with some of the tracks on there. Like you just,
Beavis and Butthead.
I know, right? It's
That's
crazy.
why.
You're right. I mean, that's a big.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Well, and so it's also kind of a homecoming reunion of sort too, right?
Yeah.
Because Greg
Yep.
from Around the Fur
Yep.
is from this area. You guys
Yep.
played together. Were you in bands with Greg as well?
He and I were.
We were, and then we just did a reunion of that band with Greg. When was that? Back in November.
July. Right.
Yeah, November.
That's what happens with time.
Yeah, it was in July, and Loomer actually filled in on drums for that reunion tour. So, and that actually came out of our first Primus show, which was also with Around the Fur, but it was up in Delaware.
Okay.
And we were all together, just having a good time, and we're like, just started talking about doing that mod reunion show.
Right.
and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool.
Yep.
All right, well, we'll shift gears on you a little bit if that's okay. We'll just don't take up too much time because there is your opening act is playing right now.
Yep.
So that's what people will hear when they hear this.
Yep.
Either right now live or they hear the recorded version of it. They'll be hearing that back behind everything, which we actually kind of think is cool.
It is
Kinda
cool,
have
yeah.
some good live shit playing back behind you. But we bitch about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame all the time. And a lot of people do, right? And then, of course, all the inductees that has been announced. Voting for fans has been announced.
Yeah, not the inductees yet, but
Not the inductees,
slate
excuse me, the
of-
nominees. I should have said nominees.
Oh,
That was
these
the
are
word.
to be inductees.
Yes.
That's what it is? Okay.
Yes, and fan voting, I don't know if it plays a role in it or not. It's supposed to, but then weird shit happens because sometimes it seems that fan voting's ignored.
Okay.
Right? So we have the list of nominees on a chalkboard on one of our screens here. And we were going to do a whole odds maker game. We play a lot of games when we don't have band folk inside the show. So Kevin and I, as we bitch about this stuff, it gives us the structure and format to do so. So if we were going to be in the Vegas odds board on the chalkboard, we could go one by one through all of these acts, but then you guys wouldn't play your show if we did so. So we're not going to do that. But I'll ask you guys this. Is there any act that stands out that should 100%
Soundgarden.
Yeah, I mean, that's a given.
Soundgarden.
Soundgarden.
Love that
is
you
just
guys went there
that's
first.
not even a question.
I loved it.
Absolutely.
Huge
Nobody else
Soundgarden.
over top
I
of
mean,
you went right to Soundgarden.
Not even a question.
I'm
Yeah.
1,000%
I
with you.
bet
all.
our next
1,000%.
I bet our next answers are all going to be different.
Uh-huh.
If I had to say the next one for me, and they're both going to give me shit about this, but I would say Oasis for me.
No,
Really?
No way.
No, for me.
That's stunning.
Yeah,
Wow.
I love me some Oasis.
Wow.
That's like 7th grade nostalgia, and I just
Damn.
love me some Oasis. Now
I
they
think you're the
fizzled.
only person I know that has said
Now
something like that.
they fizzled out because honestly, like a lot of these, like how is Mariah Carey even on that list? Like what
Right,
is that?
right, yeah,
okay, so and I mean, Outkast.
Why are they
on that
Well,
list?
that's- I mean,
and they're
there's
great,
always-
but they're not a
Right.
rock and
There's
roll
always
band,
that.
right?
There's
So-
always that argument, right?
I don't know that it was ever about genre necessarily. I think it was more about like album sales.
So
than
if that's
anything
the case,
else.
then don't call it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Call it the Album Sales
Well,
Hall of Fame.
I like to
I mean,
call it
look-
the Rolling Stone Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
'cause it's
okay,
like
there you go.
whatever
I'll
it is
buy
in
that.
Rolling Stone magazine. That's really what drives to me this list.
Are we allowed to use expletives?
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, bro.
Fucking Rolling Stone guitar list of the top 100.
Yeah, all right, yeah,
that
that's another-
fucking thing
I can't
sent
even
me into
read
a
that
rage.
shit.
Like, right
It's the
so
worst.
knowing that this is the Rolling Stone list is like, okay, it
Yeah,
makes sense. And it's
yeah.
just to throw it out with the bathwater. But I would go Billy Idol next.
As your number 2?
Yeah.
All right. Scott, what do you got at number 2?
I mean, aside from Billy Idol, I don't think I'd put any of them in there other than Soundgarden.
Wow. All right, so you just have 2.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, pure rock and roll, nothing.
No,
Like,
like
Chubby Checker.
What about the White Stripes?
Maybe Chubby Checker, but like,
yeah, see, I can't stand the White Stripes. People
Really?
people
No,
love
really?
the White
Really?
Stripes.
Really?
No,
Wow, no.
not for
And as
me.
a drummer,
No.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to say anything negative about Meg White.
I can. That's
But I will
stuff is
say,
terrible.
I don't have anything positive to say about Meg White, so I'm just not going to say anything at all.
He's doing his thumper bit from
I
Bambi.
mean, maybe Bad Company.
I was going to say, what about the Crows? The Black
No.
Crows? No.
I mean, the
Not
thing
a
with
big
They're
fan.
rock and roll.
So here's the thing, they're
they
rock
are,
and
but-
roll, but see them, like to me, like they were always one of those bands, and I have a real issue with, like, as a big music dork, there's a whole side of rock that's like all about attitude,
Uh-huh.
right? And they strike me as one of those bands that's more about like attitude and looking
Yeah.
cool, and it's just like, okay, that's cool, you look really cool on stage, and I'm gonna go home and listen to your records and be like, well, this just doesn't like line up. Like that's.
I never found them to be like that, but I always felt like they were kind of like B tier. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
They can
how
play.
many, how many
They
hits
can
did
play.
they?
They're not.
But how many hits did they have? Their biggest hit
Like
is a
2
cover,
maybe?
right?
Talks to Angels.
Yeah.
I'd
Okay.
say that was a hit. Also,
I think there was
Alright.
one more.
That was probably
the
their
one we
biggest.
play-
Remedy.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, I
Remedy,
forgot
that was-
about that
yeah,
song.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But still, that's
just
not
it.
enough for the Hall of Fame. Like that's. Like,
I think that to me, we haven't. You and I have not talked about
No.
this. This is like something we've just kind of because we've bounced into other different types of shows. They're the surprise on that list to me. Like I'm with you guys. Like
Yeah.
and what you're saying, Scott. Like I would never even thought they were on the radar. So
Joe Cocker needs to be in because he's just famous and legendary. I mean, I'm definitely ignorant about what his music really is, but I know that name, and he's one of those guys that he's just been around forever, and his
Right.
I
music's
feel
been
like
around.
he's one of those guys that had tons of hits, and I could not name you a single one
Right,
of them.
right.
But if you played them, I'd be like, oh, that's
Right,
Joe Cocker?
right.
sure.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you one thing, Fish.
No.
Maybe
No.
one of my bottom 5 like worst. Again, that
Take
whole.
them off of
I
everything.
mean,
Have you guys ever been to a Fish show?
yeah. Oh, that's the other thing.
I've worked a Fish show. I never intended it to enjoy it.
so
You know what I
sorry.
mean? Like I had to work it.
I went to when they were at Merriweather.
Why?
This is, 25 years ago.
Why?
Because my girlfriend at the time really wanted to go see it.
Horrible
But-
excuse.
But to see the sub economy that exists.
Yes, yeah, it really is.
Absolutely. Sociologically, it's impressive.
It's like a cult.
Yeah.
It is. It's an entire economy that's just based on following them around. And talk about people that would probably survive the apocalypse. They're able to make omelets quite literally on the fucking sidewalk, with like a little sterno thing. Like I see guys selling omelets.
They strike me
Where are
as
you
like
keeping the eggs, dude?
you ever been to a Jimmy Buffett concert?
You are.
I have.
Yeah,
So
I was
like
gonna say,
Buffett, like I have a soft spot for Jimmy Buffett because my dad was a huge fan and I grew up listening to that. I don't listen to it on my own, but I know all the hits and I love that. Right? It's very Florida Keys.
Yeah.
But his shows, I asked someone once that worked at Wolf Trap, and I was like, what's like the craziest, raunchiest show? And I was waiting for some answer, like, oh, we had Motley Crue come through one time, or we had no hesitation, all of them, Jimmy Buffett, not even a
yeah.
question. And I'm
Yeah,
sitting there
I
like,
can
what do you
see
mean?
that.
They're like, have you ever seen like 50-year-olds
Right.
passing out and throwing up in the aisles
Grass
and slipping in their
skirts.
own vomit? Like,
Dudes with grass skirts and the open Hawaiian shirts and the bellies hanging
the
out.
parking lot is just like a sea of urine and vomit. Like, and there's just like excrement everywhere. And like you look at it and you're like, man, this must have been some crazy black metal show. You're like, no, it was Cheeseburger in Paradise for 3 hours, and this is what
They're all
happened.
middle management. They all just got their bonuses and they all
right.
going nuts.
But yeah,
Who do you think? I know who's in the lead of the fan vote. They're like, who would be your guess as to who is leading the fan vote for the Rock and Roll Hall
White
of Fame?
Stripes, I bet.
Mariah Carey.
Who are the people voting? Like just the general
Fans,
public?
Anybody.
public, internet voting. So
I bet
open
it's the
to the
White
world.
Stripes.
Probably White Stripes.
You think so?
Yeah.
You on that one?
It just puts a bad taste in my mouth. It's like,
The White Stripes. If that's it.
I don't want to say it, but that's probably it.
It's Fish. Fish is way out ahead.
Worse. That's even
Well,
worse.
Like you guys are bringing it up, all the fish heads.
It
you know what I
doesn't
mean?
matter because,
How
you
do
know,
those- I didn't even know
Right.
they had internet access. That's crazy. I mean, they're living in their cars. Like, driving
Public
around.
library
I guess
access.
You know what? He's right. Public library.
I mean,
man.
Judas Priest won the fan vote 2 years in a row
That's
and
true.
never
Yeah.
got in.
Yeah.
They
So,
didn't go, really?
yep.
See, and I'm not a huge Judas Priest fan, but still, they should be. Like, I'm
That's
not a big
not right.
Iron
They,
Maiden guy.
they
so
finally
should be
got in, but
Oh,
it
they
was
did.
with some
And it wasn't
bogus
like,
kind of
I was gonna
award.
say it was
That's
a like
crazy.
lifetime achievement or
Yeah.
something.
Oh,
It wasn't
that's
like an
terrible.
actual true
Yeah.
induction.
That's bullshit.
That's terrible.
I
They-
mean,
they
for
should be
me,
there.
Soundgarden is really the only one on, maybe Billy Idol, but it's the bands that aren't in there. Like Iron Maiden
Yeah.
should
They
be in
should
the
be
Rock
in
and
there.
Roll Hall
Yeah,
of
of
Fame.
course.
That's crazy.
They've influenced so many bands that are already in.
Right.
And so,
Is Pantera in there yet?
Oh God, no.
What's the criteria? I'm like football. You got to be done playing for 5 years. What's the criteria for
it's a length of time from your first album release.
Okay.
So Pantera is certainly eligible.
Yeah.
But Nobody has even brought that up.
They
No,
should be.
I don't- yeah.
They need to be in there.
I mean,
They're the first like extreme metal band like that to have a platinum
Are
record.
you allowed to nominate someone that's thrown a Sieg Heil at a
I
show?
know, I know. You know what? Keep Phil out and just put Dime and Vinny and Rex in there. Then if they want to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Slayer, you got Megadeth,
all of them.
all the-
all of them.
all the
Hall of
big
Fame.
fours.
four.
They're
Yeah. The big
Anthrax.
four, at
They're not
least.
in,
No, I'm
and
not-
they should be.
I'm not a
should.
huge Anthrax guy either, but
am.
those others.
Yeah.
You like Anthrax a lot?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I could
Absolutely.
never did.
Anthrax is
You like
great.
Anthrax?
Anthrax.
Yes. Yeah, they're
It-
great.
so-
I'll tell you the
My
group.
first show, Anthrax and Maiden.
Nice.
I didn't know that. That's
Nice.
awesome.
And, I want to say I'm showing my age here.
I don't remember those
Back
two
in
together.
He's old.
91, 91, I think.
Yeah.
So again, you asked about Soundgarden. That was my first show, Patriot Center,
Nice.
1996.
Yeah.
Oh, that was at
I- we-
Patriot
I was-
Center.
I was gonna say,
I was at that show.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're talking about the Maiden show though? The
Yeah.
Maiden- and Anthrax had to be the opener.
They were.
They were. It was the
Yeah.
Fear of the Dark tour.
Okay. Yeah.
at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. Very nice.
I was
But
too
yeah,
young for that.
I was at
you were
that
at the
Sound-
Soundgarden?
I was.
So you remember the openers? Rocket from the Crypt,
That's
the ska
right,
band,
yes,
and
yeah.
Tenderloin,
I forgot
the
about
huge
that.
fat guy that could
Yes.
shoot coins out of his stomach. And I'll never forget, they were the first band I ever saw
right.
was
I forgot
Tenderloin.
about that,
And
yeah.
I'm sitting there like, is this really what live
even
shows
know
are
who
like?
that is.
These dudes take their shirts off and shoot objectiles out of their
I gotta learn
stomachs?
that trick.
Yeah, I never knew
It's like
that
sounds
was,
like a Lollapalooza side stage.
it was
deal.
honestly the most bizarre bill ever. It was Tenderloin was kind of like a blues traveler kind of band, and then Rocket from the Crypt was a ska band.
Right.
And then you had Soundgarden. It was like, who the hell put this package
Their
together? And Rocket
Their
from the
label.
Crypt. I mean, it was just so bizarre.
It wasn't them.
You know,
It was their label.
It definitely was not them.
That
well,
shit
they
used to happen all the time in the 90s where you would have
They did
three
try it, yeah.
completely different genres on stage and you'd have a third of the crowd being like, what the fuck are we doing
we
here?
were talking
What is
last
this?
time about Jax. They tried to like merge some of those like extreme metal bands with some
Yeah.
of the hardcore stuff. Like, so I remember I saw Cryptopsy and Poison the Well, and all like the tight pants kids show up to see, you know, Poison the Well and get excited. It's opposite of December time, and Flo Mournier shows up and is like, you know, whatever he wears, and they're playing, you know, 500 BPM a minute, and these kids are like, I don't understand what's happening here. I
Blast
don't
beats
know.
make me cry.
And then there was another one, I think it was like Origin and 18 Visions,
Fuck
and,
yeah.
and Origin like threatened the crowd. He was just like, if you leave during our set, you're gonna deal with me. And I was like, well, that's awesome that this guy is that excited.
Oh, man. Wasn't it Lollapalooza where they like just randomly brought Tony Bennett up there?
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
God, I didn't know
Talk
that.
about out
Yeah.
of nowhere.
They did, Chris Cornell did a whole thing with him. Like an EP or something.
I mean, I like Tony
gonna say
Bennett,
the
but
other day.
like in the middle of Lollapalooza,
Right.
like
I mean, you know, bringing this all
Yeah.
back, I think Primus plays Bonnaroo.
yeah.
I mean, and that
Yeah.
is like so bizarre, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you got Bonnaroo, which is literally just Fish Jr.
Right.
And then you've, I know, right? But that's, you're right.
It's become something. It's just like it was the Montreux Jazz Festival where Living Color is the headliner. And don't get me wrong, Living Color is one of my favorite bands.
Love Living
I didn't know
Colour.
that.
But Montreux
Love
Jazz
Living
Festival?
Colour.
Like, and the other thing is, the
weird.
guys in Living Color have the chops. Like, they
Right.
can do
Right.
actual bop jazz and
yeah.
shit all
Right.
day long.
Right.
But watch the video.
The crowd
they
is
did
probably
not
like-
do bop jazz. They kick ass.
Pulling out culty personality.
Personality.
Festival.
Some dudes waiting for bebop songs to come in. Like, yeah.
But your kids will love it.
That's right. You're not ready for this.
All right. Well, we should probably get you guys back out there.
Sure.
I mean, I think that we probably talked through most of their set.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna go warm up my hands so I don't butcher this set.
I'm glad
so.
so sometimes like people get a little stressed, you know, like before as the time comes, like for them to go. Like you guys are like completely relaxed.
I mean, we're old. We've done this a bunch.
gonna
It's all
say,
good.
right?
The other crazy thing is that we don't drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah.
Kind of work for the government, so like
Yeah, right.
can't do drugs either.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah, we've just been doing this for so long, and it's honestly it's kind of like therapy for us.
Sure,
You know, like if
sure.
we didn't play live,
Yeah.
our home lives would probably be a lot worse.
if I go like 2 or 3 weeks, I get real antsy. It's
Yeah.
not good. He can't go a week. Like, you know,
I play out every weekend with 8 different bands, and my
Yeah,
wife is
he's-
like, if I have a Friday night off, no shit, my wife is like, hey, why don't you get the fuck out of here? Like, don't you have a show today? I'm like, no, we should clean the house. Like, you need to shut the fuck up.
he'll literally be texting.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have a date on my calendar for this day. I'm like, that's in fucking July. Like, it's
know,
February. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Fill my date on July 18th. I'm like, what? Shut up. Oh. But yeah, man, this is gonna be fun. So-
Awesome.
All right, yeah, I know, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah,
This will be
yeah.
our first Primus tribute, and like I said, we're both big
Yep.
fans.
I'm gonna
Might
see
be
them
the
in
only one
May
you ever
when they
see.
come in May.
So I actually
Oh, that's
figured that
right.
out. So they're gonna be. It's weird. I'm debating whether to go, but it's that Sasanta thing. But
Yeah.
they're all gonna be on stage at the same time. So what I don't know is, are they actually gonna play? Because I'm a huge Perfect Circle fan, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
are they gonna play their own set, and Primus is gonna do their own set, or are they all gonna be? Am I going to hear Les Claypool singing The Hollow is what I'm concerned
No,
about,
right,
right?
yeah.
Or am I going to hear Maynard like attempting to sing Is It Luck? Like that's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I mean, it's unique to that date, right?
Well,
It's
and-
not a traveling tour.
Oh,
And
no, I think it
Pussifer
is.
is
It
Maynard
was a
too,
tour.
so.
Okay.
It was made for Maynard's birthday.
Oh,
From what I
That's
heard
right.
from other people that went, like, and this might not be accurate, it's complete hearsay. And of course, Maynard doesn't allow people to record, so you wouldn't know.
Right.
But from what I heard, it was like each band would play a couple of songs, their own songs, and then while they're on stage, the other band would do their thing, and like they're playing ping pong in the back or doing other fun stuff
That is-
while they're not.
So it's
I'm
the
cool with that.
it's the
Yeah.
Bret Michaels model.
Yeah.
Oh, did he do that?
Mikey asked.
That's
Greg
what he's
Party
doing,
Girl, right,
yeah.
about
Party
this
Girl.
Sasanta thing, because I think he knows.
Oh, did he
like-
see it already?
I don't know if he saw it, but he seems to know everything about it. So
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to check. Because I'm debating.
great
Because I
lineup,
kind
though.
of want to go. Oh, yeah.
We have
I mean,
tickets.
Yeah.
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 I haven't seen Perfect Circle since 2001, and last time I saw Primus was when they were doing those.
wait, you
they-
and I went to that Perfect Circle show like 20 some odd years ago.
That's what I'm saying. It was at
like
it was at American University.
Nice.
No.
I'm pretty sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Either way, Primus did those gigs where they were doing, they would play like a set of 8 songs and then they would do an entire album. And I saw them on the Seas of Cheese one. And Greg and I actually went to it up in Pennsylvania because that was the closest it was coming.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were phenomenal. I mean, they crushed it. So
You bring up. I got to tell you a story about us, because like since you're like one of those. We saw Testament, Nuclear Assault, and
that's his junk right there.
I was gonna say, I can't remember
Testament's
who
his guys.
opened for them. Napalm Death.
Oh,
Maybe.
yeah, there you go.
You know, like
Ritchie
at
Coliseum.
At Ritchie Coliseum. So Rich, but you know, that was a great like thrash lineup as it was. But the most intense part happened. They threw up all the lights, house lights, before Testament played, and they just played all of Slayer, Rain and Blood, and that crowd went insane.
Well, yeah.
Like just to a recorded live or just recorded
Fucking
track.
Slayer, man.
That mosh pit was the most intense of that entire
yeah.
show, like on a recorded Slayer album.
Yeah.
All their shows are that way.
Yeah.
Slayer's they're a different beast. I love Slayer.
Yeah,
and
I
I've
saw
seen them
them,
a bunch. and
Primal.
Seasons of the Abyss tour down at some club in Richmond.
That's awesome.
And it had, old theater, balcony and all that, and they had the orchestra pit. And there were guys jumping up on the railing of the orchestra pit, stage diving back into the crowd, and nobody was catching them. So they were like slamming into the wooden chairs in the theater. It's like you're hearing ribs breaking, and they're like jumping up. They're like, "Yeah, man, fucking Slayer rocks!"
That's what they did. I saw them. I saw Chimera, American Head Charge, and Slayer up in Boston. And Chimera, awesome band, but literally every drum part is the same thing. It's just the hands staying straight and then the feet doing something really cool.
Yeah.
And with a bunch of chugging and screaming. Crowd loved it. American Head Charge, who I love. I don't know if you remember those guys. They're kind of like a smaller new metal band, but they were killer. They went on, and their music's pretty complex. Like, they have a lot of weird stuff. They have 7 people, but it's not like a Slipknot thing. They've got keys, and they've got guys doing all sorts
more
of
produced.
stuff. Very cool shit. But
It's good though.
Slayer crowd fucking hated them. Like, and I'm loving this. I'm like, these guys are fucking killing it. And Slayer fans are literally booing them.
Yeah.
The singer got all agitated and was like, Slayer asked us to be here. Think about that. They cut their set short 2 songs. The Slayer crowd, literally, like you were talking about, they were moshing in between set, like to like the house music of God knows what they were playing. And I'm like, I've seen bands have weaker mosh pits for their actual band, not the house music before. I mean, the Slayer show is an experience.
And it was
They're
the
blasting.
same when they with Alice in Chains on the Clash of the Titans tour.
Okay.
So it was Anthrax, Megadeth, Slayer, and Alice in Chains opened.
yeah.
Alice was very new;
right,
they
yeah.
hadn't broken out yet.
Yep.
And the Slayer fans were like, "This band fucking sucks! Get off the stage!"
I remember watching videos of Lane talking about that tour.
Yeah.
They would make fun of Dave Mustaine during the press cue. Like when Dave's on stage and Lane would be like, "Hello, I got a bowling ball in my stomach."
Real quick, before we got to run.
I was gonna say they threw the clock up. I love how they do this.
How was Alice in Chains not on that list and Soundgarden is?
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
another one.
Because that would be a
Or
real.
Jane's Addiction.
That would be. I'm not. So I like Jane's Addiction, but I was not a huge. But Alice in Chains and Soundgarden. That is an argument we could have for like 5 hours about
Yeah.
who's better. Because
Yeah.
I don't even know if I could pick. But that's.
Well,
They both belong in the Hall of Fame.
100.
Sure.
Not even
Soundgarden's
close.
older.
Yes.
Only by a couple
Not by
years
much.
though.
Yeah, not by much, but they had already a couple albums out before Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
And Alice in Chains is one of those bands, in my opinion, that has never in their entire career released a bad record.
Right. No, right.
Even the
You're-
new shit,
absolutely.
I fucking love. And
that's
that's
good.
even the last Soundgarden album before Chris Cornell passed away was kind of because I know they didn't get along or whatever
Right.
they had, but that album was. But the new Alice in Chains stuff, when they released that, we were all kind of like, oh, what's this gonna be?
Yeah.
Shit is so good.
Hell
I
yeah.
mean, so
Yeah.
even Jerry Cantrell's
Yeah.
2 solo records are fucking great. I mean,
Yeah,
that guy,
absolutely. Yeah.
he's one of those dudes. Is whatever he touches just
Yep.
turns
Yep.
to gold.
Gold.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I know, right?
Nice.
We just saw him. We just saw him a
Nice.
month ago. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Love it.
All right.
you ready to go
All right.
rock?
I was going to say.
All right.
Yeah, we'll go rock.
The clock's obviously ticking, so
Yeah, we're
we all just got to shut the
Have a
hell
great
up.
set. And
Yeah, I
Appreciate
know.
it, guys.
Always good. We'll do this again.
Absolutely. Thank you
Yeah.
for having us
Yeah.
again.
A lot of
All
fun.
right.
See ya.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. I'm gonna drink a bunch of water, get my hands warmed up.
Thanks, man. That was fun.
Awesome. Thanks.